Metalheads UK and all that stuff. Right now you're checking out Full Frequency, RTR, blowing it up.
Oh, I died. ETA 15 minutes while I get ready.
Welcome back to Full Frequency. Time now, just going to click over to 3:19. It's a beautiful afternoon here in Borloo. I'll be doing something nice. We're here in the studio, which is where I like to be. I've got Dolphins on Mars underneath me, two in fact. This is a dub by Citizens of Earth. Big ups to Just James for sending me this one. I don't know when it's coming out, so maybe forthcoming. I'll have to ask him, but yeah, got some beautiful cascading drum rolls in this one. Really feeling it. Before that, Greed and Prejudice by Vince Rollins. A 2020 hardcore tune on 36Hz Records from the UK. By Train Spotters amongst you would have heard the re-space heavily used in there, and yeah, a few Med Townsends as well. Yeah, definitely my flavour. Coming up next, got a bit of Neck Tax for you. He's got a gig coming up on, I think it's like the 6th of February. I'll give you the details later in the show. But yeah, go check that one out. Down at 201. He's making big waves in the jungle scene at the moment. We've got a few more 160s coming your way. Out of the crate, got some Overshadow coming shortly. Remember, you can send me a signal 0405 921 921 studio at rtrfm.com.au. This is JC looking after the Wednesday Full Frequency for Weapon S. Big ups, everyone that's logged in. Let's do this.
What am I doing? Okay. Hello, everybody. The many windows I have open.
This February, Perth Festival is back with unforgettable performances, live music and bold new art. Immerse yourself in gigs under the stars at East Perth Power Station, sample on sophistication, blues and cabaret at the Embassy in Perth Town Hall, and discover over 100 shows and...
I'm streaming a radio station here that's local to Perth, so get a bit of that. So today we're going to be, once again, I've been talking a lot about Australian politics these past couple of weeks, and because I think it's pertinent. Not really because anybody should be interested in what happens in Australia in particular, but because it is a, I don't know how to put it, like it is a bit of a temperature gauge of what's happening in the sort of the peripheral imperial core. So we've just had, after the Bondi shootings, which undoubtedly most people have heard about, we've had a law passed now which is ushering in a kind of... in Australia, at least, an unheard of suite of laws which are at the discretion of a minister, the Home Affairs Minister here in Australia, and then by extension the Prime Minister only. So these laws that have just recently been passed have endowed the ministers with power without any kind of review to declare an individual or a group as endangering or potentially harming the... I don't know. It basically means that there... anything that can make people feel offended can actually be prescribed according to the law in the wake of the Bondi shooting. So, of course, the wording of the legislation and what people are worried about is that any anti-Israel protests, coupled with the IHRA understanding of what anti-Semitism is, it's people have been concerned that actually any kind of anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, by virtue of the fact that displaying the Palestine flag, saying things like "from the river to the sea," could actually be considered hate speech against the Jewish population. I don't need to explain that that's not the case, but Australia being one of the key United States allies in the Pacific, and a general ally outside of that, it's a strategic imperative to ensure that Israel is not criticized. So, we're looking at an interview here with actually, I forgot who this is, but we'll figure it out. All right, here we go. Kiko, what up, buddy?
Hello, welcome to We Used to Be Journos, the podcast.
You're watching videos of the Makarov pistol while holding my Makarov airsoft pistol while missing my actual Makarov pistol.
Where two media insiders break down.
I really want a
broken
Makarov,
news.
dude. Those
I am
pistols
Jan
look so
Fran,
good.
And my co-host is Antoinette Latouf. How are you?
I am so excited. You said breakdown, broken news. All I'm thinking about is like breakdown.
Oh, Antoinette Latouf, yes.
And all the things we may or may not be doing in our live show. Your face just looks.
So, for the background of Antoinette Latouf, she's an Australian Lebanese journalist and she was contracted once for the ABC back in 2023, I think it was, for about 2 weeks. And outside of her work with that's the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Commission, not the American ABC, she had voiced her opposition to what Israel does in the Middle East. And that's actually fairly benign things on Twitter. And a bunch of people, the Zionist lobby, they send out mailers to all their supporters, and then they in turn send bulk emails to the ABC saying, "We're afraid of Antoinette Lattouf. She's an Arab." And she said some bad things about Israel. This is anti-Semitic. And she got fired from her 2-week contract. And it was the subject of a lawsuit over the course of a year here, against the ABC, which she actually won. So, they could have just shut the fuck up about it for 2 weeks, but they decided to just fire her. And it's an amusing little tale all of its own, which I can't really entangle without taking an hour yapping about it.
To be going breakdancing.
You'll buy and send me an airsoft version?
You as well as audience.
No, Australian Customs will look at that and confiscate it immediately. Airsoft is illegal in this country, in most states.
Jan,
Definitely the state that I'm in.
Here's my caution to you in this moment. This is the best sell for the live show, actually. If you haven't bought your tickets, let me assure you, Antoinette Lattouf will not be breakdancing on stage. But there will be...
But when I move to Malaysia, dude, when we get to Malaysia, oh yeah, you can send me an airsoft pistol. Oh my god, I can't wait till that happens. That'll be so cool. We'll be so close to each other. My brown bro, just over in Japan, 5 hours away.
Such assurances. El Fresh the Lion will be performing at our Sydney show.
That's true.
I may breakdance.
That's true.
Yes.
Claudia Carvin's also going to be at our Sydney show. Nazim Hussain is going to be at our Melbourne show with Gabby Bolt.
Yeah.
I agonized over which pistol to get a couple of years back. Will be a long time. Where are you in the world? I'm just going to call you villain. That first part is way too hard to pronounce when I'm in any kind of mood. Deep South US, okay. Been a long time before I get another. Hoping to start for a rifle upgrade this year. I really like Sig Sauers. They're nice looking guns. I have no... Also, Car Arms make a very nice handmade pistol. A friend of mine in Portland showed me one of theirs. Oh my god, they're so pretty. I don't know anything about how well they function, though. Because I'm with the Commonwealth here. We're ignorant about firearms. In most practical senses.
Who is one of my favourite muso/comedians.
You like Jug? Okay, I call you Jug.
Me for hers, Anissa Nandola, Tom Ballard, Fatima Payman.
Yes, and Fatima Payman has just announced that she's pregnant. She's expecting, which is very exciting. But our reaction was like... Why didn't she reveal that very personal thing with her husband on the stage with us?
God, we're just ever the promoters. Yeah. I disgust myself. No, Fatima, you can tell your story however you goddamn want to, okay? Let me put that on the record. Anyway, all of this to say, if you, there are still...
Not that many. We've been looking at the tickets. Melbourne is almost sold out.
I know, and it's a 1,000-seater room.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah,
so there may not be any tickets in Melbourne, actually, by the time that you're listening to this. But Bon Courage, head to the link in our bio and or in our caption.
A Springfield Echelon? What is this? This is now a gun stream. This is now a firearm stream by a guy who doesn't know anything about firearms, actually. Doesn't know much. Like, no hands-on experience. For anybody who likes firearms, I would recommend this channel. Not so much to learn about firearms, but he does like every so often, like he'll do a video about unusual weapons and even popular weapons. And I like this guy. This guy is a very sensible dude. He did a blackout on Black Lives Matter protest day, so I'm pretty sure that this guy is a based firearm nerd. I like this guy. Forgotten Weapons. Wow, those are nice looking weapons, Jug. I'm impressed. Oh, there's one based on the 1911. That's sick. And there's one that's actually the 1911, basically. Wow. And there's one that's just the 1911. They do a lot of 1911 iterations. I like these. Springfield, dude. That's one of the weapons that won the war. It was mostly Russian weapons that won the war. But let's not go into that. Are watermelons illegal in Australia yet? I have a video about that. This is somebody, I don't know if this video is real. So beware of that. I don't know if this was satire, but it was reported by Middle East Eye. So, as to your question about whether watermelons are illegal, what happened?
There are material that appears to be anti-Semitic.
What's the anti-Semitic material?
Well, there's a small watermelon. In that car, there are material that appears to be anti-Semitic.
What's the anti-Semitic material?
Well, there's a small watermelon.
Can you just see like how much this police officer? So far, I haven't heard that this is not real. But just caution, it might not be real. I haven't heard that it's not real, so I think it might be real. But can you see this police officer's face?
Well, there's a small watermelon.
He hates himself. It's amazing. It's amazing, man. I love that. I love that for him. Got a rifle, max 90 AK. Thanks to look at that, I prioritize food production, but a rifle is very on my mind. Older 1911s don't do well with hollow point ammo, but apparently the new ones do. I'll take a Bakarov. I'll take anything made in Russia any day. Although I have heard that 1911s are pretty good firearms. They're pretty good pistols. My main investments are dirt and trees. Everything else has to wait in line. Folks got to eat. Need to do more watermelon this year, yeah. No way. It's fake. He's an amazing actor. He should. Yeah. Okay. Just on the topic of Kalashnikovs. I just have to show you this video. This is a temporary firearms stream. This is going to be about 15 minutes. When I can get my thing to refresh here. Okay, here we go.
Hey, buddy, you're trespassing. You can get out of here. You'll get out of here if you know what's.
I narrowed my concealed carry to a Bulgarian Mac when I lived in the States. There's a great documentary by horses about the AK-47. Okay. Yeah, I'll look that up at a...
Good for you. All right, big guy. Time to get to getting. 2020.
I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what his opinions are, but he did a very interesting test about the AK model. This is why it's the weapon of freedom, okay? This is why any revolutionary in any part of the world could pick this weapon up and it will work.
What's up, everybody? My name is Scott, and you're watching Kentucky Ballistics. And this magnificent creature is the AK-47. And other than the AR-15, I would argue that this is one of the most popular
Chat your leisure, chat.
semi-automatic
Oh, Plank,
rifles
you would
in
love the link
America.
I sent.
And you know, not too long ago,
I probably
did
will.
a 100-day torture test on a Glock, and we have performed the same test on the AR-15. So naturally, I figured an AK-47 should be next on the menu. So on December 10th, 2024, and just for your reference, today is March 27th, 2025, so it's been a little bit over 100 days. I took 4 AK-47s. Each of them had a 20-round mag with 10 rounds of
Experiment with
ammunition.
wooden bullets?
I buried
Freaking
one,
vampires.
threw one in a pond, soaked one in ocean water, and then I put the other in a deep freezer. So it has been a little over 100 days. These things are done marinating. It's time to dig them up and pull them out and see if they function or not. So first up is the buried AK-47, and this, oh dear. Ah! Does that mean I'm the king of Kentucky now? Isn't that how that works? This spot right here has actually been a pretty bad spot to be buried if you're an AK-47. This place has flooded about 2 or 3 times since I buried it. As you can see here, it is covered in sand now from a creek. Oh dear. Oh,
20 minutes later.
So we kind of forgot exactly where we buried
The
it. and we
Proletariat
hit a
Firearms
few
channel.
speed bumps, but we pretty much got it now.
Yeah, I have no doubt if he went back to the States and hooked up with the Socialist Rifle Association and said, "Hey guys, I'm a streamer. And I also work in video." Like in production. They would do something with you.
Over here, I am starting to uncover this thing.
That's if you get past Customs and Border Protection.
It is
Let's go, lab.
right here.
I'll take any help
See
I
that
can get
there?
down
That's
here.
the,
Yeah.
That's the fore end, and the mag is right there. There we go.
See, this is insane.
Oh, that's not looking good. Okie dokie. Now it's time to get the one out of the pond. Oh gosh, this rope is disgusting. Ugh.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
That is that doesn't look bad. That doesn't look half bad at all. I think that the AR looked worse when I pulled it out of the pond. Now we can get a really good look at it. And again, I am really surprised at how good this thing looks. I mean, that really doesn't look very bad at all. And I kind of have high hopes for this one.
At least Kalishnikovs
Okay, this
function
next
just
one
fine, yeah.
is one that I'm really excited about, and I'm always excited about, the ocean water. This should have been pretty brutal to the AK. Salt water is not good for your guns. Ah. Oh. tint of that water, I think, says it all. Let's have a look. Oh, you can't even see it because it's so rusty. Oh,
Jesus.
my goodness.
Out of the coastal swampland.
Oh, that's
This is extremely
really
relevant to me, yeah.
bad. Ew.
Look, if the ATF ever comes down, like if your little collective, just throw all your weapons into the sea and mark them vaguely, and they're never gonna find them. Or they'll be like, yeah, that's not gonna work.
That side's really bad. Look at the wood. Some of it's turned black. Oh. Okay. Well, let's just set that right there. I'm actually missing a part. Where is it at? There it is. I had to take off the muzzle brake because it wouldn't fit the container. So all in all, this really doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look, judging from the color of that water, but it's still pretty bad. Okay.
Like, why is the color? Like, are there any science guys in here?
Because it wouldn't fit in the container.
Why is the water that color? Is that because that's some kind of natural reaction with sodium and water, or is it because there's metal in there? Is that like rust or something? Like, why is it that color?
Off the muzzle brake because it wouldn't fit in the container.
Okay.
So all in all, this really doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look, judging from the color of that water, but it's still pretty bad. Okay. That means there's only one AK left to retrieve, and that is the frozen AK.
Actually, the soul of the gun itself.
It's a big old AK popsicle.
It's a frozen AK.
My goodness. Okay. Oh.
And confirm that's how iron water looks. My well water looks like that because of the high iron content. Okay.
2 hours later.
I just about got it. It's looking pretty good. Ice doesn't really seem to be so hard on guns. It's almost like it freezes them in time. I stand corrected. The ice AK is not perfect. We have a little bit of rust right here on these pins, but all in all, I would say that this one looks better than the other three. Now, we have to take these things and see if they will function. Spam is super annoying, but thankfully there's companies out there like today's sponsor, Aura, who have all kinds of awesome features.
Okay, Ethical Reacts. We'll watch
spam.
the ad.
I'm not talking about a sledgehammer. Those nifty features is data broker opt-out. You may be asking yourself, well, what is that? Well, let me explain. Well, Aura will remove your personal information from data brokers and other
Don't use any of these
may
services.
sell your information to scammers.
I'll play the ad, but I have to tell you, from what I know, all of these services will fuck you in some way. Like, they will get access to all your personal information. And at some point, even if it's not their choice, if they are sold off to a larger company, they have no choice but to divulge all their assets. Otherwise, they'll be sold. Like, if they're sold for any kind of value whatsoever, the value will be in the information that they have. So, there's no guarantee. That's the reason why that's why I'm reluctant to ever do a DNA sort of thing. Because if a company is ever acquired, a large company will acquire all your information, and all those guarantees are out the window because they're only pertinent to that company if it was its own little thing. Once their assets are sold off, all bets are off, though.
There's identity thieves and other bad people. And on top of that, Aura has a ton of other features
I'm all
to help
fuck the
better
news. Let's
protect
wrap up.
you and your family. We're talking identity theft protection.
I hope I get paid well to eat that spam for this ad. Spam is a war crime. I've never had it personally. Would try 2 out of 10. And because of my health issues, especially DNA tests could do me a lot of good, but I see no safe way to go about it. Yeah. There's really only one safe way to go about it, and that's if you happen to have connections in like a lab test that happens to specialize in that kind of thing. They can do it for you privately.
Financial fraud protection, VPN, antivirus, password manager.
I love how we're all on the same page of fuck the news.
security
Let's shut the fuck up. Yeah.
And 24-hour US-based support. Nailed it! I get all these nifty features in
I'm
one
gonna blap
app
blap.
at one affordable
There are
price
CO2
with
non-lethal
Aura.
options
and if
available.
you don't want to leave yourself or your family vulnerable to data
So there was a time, like I've always been like kind of interested in doing like skirmish type games, but I wanted something a little bit more realistic, a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more realistic than paintball. Paintball in this country, in most states, is legal, including in the state that I'm in. Anything else, gel ball, airsoft, any of that other stuff, like anything that's remotely kind of, if you have a real weapon. Because what they're concerned about, apparently, in this country, in this state, is that if you have a weapon that looks too real, the fear is that you'll be able to rob something using a very realistic looking weapon. So their response to it is to just ban all of them, because paint guns don't look particularly realistic. Anything that you might want to send me is not going to make it past Customs and Border Protection. Be like, what the fuck is this, dude? Are you some kind of terrorist?
Data breaches and data brokers, then you need to check out Aura by swinging over to aura.com/Kentucky. That'll get you 2 weeks free, and that's enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal information has been exposed.
What's Kaikuke here becomes a YouTuber and streamer. I'll lean on their connection to get my test.
Let's get back to it. So something I have failed to mention is what kind of AKs these are. These are
HDP 50
Arm Vescas. And when these things were buried, submerged, and frozen, I did so with a 20-round mag in each one with 10 rounds of ammunition. We're going to start out with the Pond AK. Let's take a look at this ammo.
Okay, this is the Pond AK, guys.
Doesn't look too bad. These are 7.62 by 39 full metal jackets. And after 100 days in pond water, they don't look that bad. And I actually do want to point out that this furniture, the wood furniture on this AK now, looks better than it did before I submerged it in pond water for 100 days.
Can I just add, like, as a point here, that it's interesting that these Kalishnikovs with their wooden furnishings, one of the reasons why the early, I think it was M16s, didn't work, like they had to recall them and rework them, because they wouldn't work in Vietnam, because the housing got all warped, and it affected the firing mechanism somehow, and they became very unreliable. But apparently not the case with Russian wood.
Stained it this really nice brown, and I actually really like it. Let's see if this thing will function. Ooh, that's gritty. Not bad. Okay, I'm not going to pull the trigger yet. We're going to put this thing in the lead sled, at least for the first shot, because you never know. Let's see if we'll chamber one of these rounds. Oh. Ooh, okay. We are in business. You just got jammed. 2 rounds and a jam. Still did better than the AR-15.
Still did better than the AR-15. What a pretty firearm, man. I love those. I love the design.
Okay, this seems fairly safe to shoot now. So, let's see if we make it. Oh, I don't have earplugs in. Hold on 1 second. Now let's see if it'll keep firing. That's pretty awesome. That outperformed.
It's a beautiful machine. It is indeed. It's the weapon of freedom.
Wouldn't even chamber a round that had been in the pond for 100 days. We had all kinds of struggles with it, and I'm pretty sure I had to use some fresh ammo to finally get it to function. While this thing chambered around,
the people's weapon indeed.
All 10 rounds of the ammunition that had been inside it for 100 days submerged in a pond. We did have a jam, but all things considered, that's pretty impressive. Up next is going to be the saltwater AK, and it's looking pretty rough. Let's see if we can get the mag out. That doesn't look that bad. And it came out of there pretty easily. Ooh, wow, that still works really well. Okay, well, let's see if it will chamber around.
I like that this guy is using a remote system to do this, by the way.
Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna pull this string one time, inspect, and then I'll probably just shoulder fire the rest if it functions. Wow.
Yep.
No jam or anything like that.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty stinking cool. I can't believe that.
A lot of gun tubers do.
Look at how freely.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned that is specifically because one guy, like, injured his hands doing something like this. And I think he was doing it with a... Oh, I don't even remember now. It was too long ago. I don't remember what weapon he was using. But yeah, he was careless enough to be holding it.
That bolt is moving. That is just... It's pretty impressive. Now, I will say the AR-15 that was soaked in salt water for 100 days, it performed perfectly as well. But as of right now, I would say the AK is ahead because the pond water also performed perfectly. Let's move on to the next AK. So I believe this next one is going to be the true test. This is the AK-47 that we buried for 100 days. The other firearms that we buried for 100 days seem to have some trouble. If this...
Mikhail Kalashnikov changed the world, as did Nikolai Makarov. Kiko, are you a secret gun guy? Is this like a secret thing of yours that we don't know about? There's one I watched that tries out user submitted ammo that this way shitfucks come up with so well. Some of it is legit scary. I think this guy blew up his neck and only survived by shoving a thumb in there to stop the bleeding. Holy fuck. I'm maybe thinking of another hick gun tuber, but I think it's this. I may or may not have been an arms trader in college. An arms trader in Rust.
Functions perfectly. After being buried for 100 days, I think I'm going to have to say that the AK-47 wins. I am just going to try to knock a little bit of this off here. I'm not going to disassemble the weapon or anything like that. Yeah. Because fair is fair. What's in there is in there. But I will knock off what I can, like around the trigger. Mag here. Okay. Looking pretty good. I really hate to pull the mag out and look at the ammo, because what if I can't get it back in there? But we did that with the other ones, so why not? That popped out of there pretty easily, and that ammo doesn't look that bad. All right, that goes in there pretty nicely. Let's see if it will chamber around. Here we go.
He goes out there trading weapons to LTTE in Sri Lanka.
Already off to a better start than the AR. Let's see if it will fire.
Okay.
Went off the first time with the ammo that's been in it for 100 days. We do have a jam. Oh, I don't know.
3D print.
I think my bungee cord got in the way, so I may have caused that malfunction. That one may be on me. Whoops. Okay. Well,
I understand that joke, Keko, and I'm not going to explain it.
You just got jammed. Jam. You just got jammed. I can't believe this right now. Come on, you're so close. Wow. Okay. It made it through all 10 rounds that it was buried with. We had a few jams, but it just kept functioning. This thing functioned so well. Let's try out a little bit of WD-40.
Oh. Does anybody else enjoy the smell of petroleum-based lubricants?
Okay.
I can smell that WD-40 right now.
Bag with 20 rounds of Underwood ammo, controlled chaos, 7.62 by 39. Whoa! You just got jammed. Oh!
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay. You know what? I bet Brandon Herrera right now is feeling all hot and bothered, and he has no idea why. I may be converting to an AK guy today. That's pretty impressive. Last, we have the frozen AK. It has been sitting out thawing this entire time.
Fix itself for that, mate, yeah.
Pretty much looks like a brand new gun, other than this little spot right here.
Listen, if you're an armed movement out of the deserts of, I don't know, Iraq, all you have to do is clear the chamber a couple of, struggle to clear the chamber a bit. I mean, what is that versus facing the company of Marines? I mean, honestly. I mean, are you going to get top of the line? It might not even function in the desert. Fuck that. Kalishnikov, baby.
Where I accidentally hit it with the pick. I am still going to put it in the lead sled just in case there is ice in that barrel. Let's take a look at the ammo. And the ammo looks pretty much brand new. That's pretty perfect. I don't really have any question that this thing's gonna chamber. Yep. Okay. Man, I tell you what, normally it takes quite a while to film these videos because I am constantly having to wash the gun and do something to get it functioning. But the AK just doesn't seem to care. And I have to say, it seems the AK-47 is nothing to shake a stick at. So as of right now, I'm going to say that the AK-47 is the champion of the Kentucky Ballistics 100-day torture test. I am going to have some trouble cleaning these things up.
Yeah.
But if I would have gotten my start in weapons technology at SDI, it'd probably go a little smoother. Link in the description down below. What other firearms would you like to see put through this 100-day torture test? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, be sure and give this video a like, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And if you want to pick up a brand new Nothing to Shake a Stick At shirt, there's a link in the description down below that will take you to KentuckyBallistics.com. And as always, my name is Scott. Thank you so much for watching Kentucky Ballistics. I'll see you next time.
I think that this victory on the part of this gun dude, I think we have to celebrate it in a way that's appropriate. So in honor of the victory of the Kalishnikov, we're going to go through this whole piece, by the way. We'll play it to the end. Is it weird that, like, I never feel anywhere near as patriotic about any of the anthems, including the Egyptian one, which is kind of shitty. As much as I love my fatherland, the national anthem just kind of sucks. The Malaysian one sucks, and the Australian one is just embarrassing. But this, I feel like kind of weird patriotism. I'm such an ML tanky. Dude, we sing the Chinese national anthem for months now. MLs did some things right, most things. Oh yeah. Listen, the ML crew is just always right. We may suck at communication and interacting with normal people, but the theory is sound. Actually, let's have a rewind. I have to go AFK for like 2 minutes. It's only 1.5 minutes and the lyrics are translated. Okay. Can you just imagine, like, our crew, like, on top of a T90 or something? Like, going... it's going, well, I don't know. I just want my truck. It's okay, but maybe you campaign on it. All right, we're gonna look at this now. And do this whole thing here. Okay, you've painted red. That's I gotta tell you that as much as that raises the blood, nothing is really quite as bloodthirsty as Le Massier's still. Which is, I mean, this is why I have a soft spot for the French, right? Because their anthem, Le Massier's, that is a bloodthirsty. That is like that's an anthem that's like, yes, we're just going to kill. We're going to kill the aristocracy, we're going to behead the king, and French blood will be spread on the fields as we defend our homeland. It's like, what the fuck? That is the most violent national anthem I've ever heard in my life. It's like, that's way worse than anything that any communist country's ever come up with. The Chinese one has come close, though. I didn't know that was the translation. I have no shame. I listened to funk remixes of all the old commie music. Oh yeah, dude. The commie classics are the best. They're just so good. Anyway, does anybody even give a shit about Australian news anymore? Like, I don't. I can tell you. Let's just go to got that horses video. I don't know what that horses video. This is very dull. Arthur Phillip landed at Sydney Cove. Don't care, really. Sailed US billionaires. Okay, I'm just gonna scoot through this.
Kind of new US spin-off is still going to be owned by ByteDance, which is the Chinese company that owns TikTok. 80% is now going to be owned by non-Chinese investors. These include, let me give you a top line of who owns 15% each.
Look, eat your vegetables. We've done the whole Leninist LARPing thing. We're going to learn about why Australia sucks now.
Right-wing Trump ally, Larry Ellison.
He's fresh off the acquisition of CBS, the network.
Indeed. Oh, he has got a stable of media titles and
I
names.
don't know what the horses video
to
is.
his stable. I don't know.
His portfolio.
You get what I'm trying to say. The private equity firm Silver Lake also owns 15%. The MGX, which is Abu Dhabi or the Emirates State Investment Firm, that also owns 15%. And then you have a bunch of other billionaires and investment firms.
So you look at who owns it now, and it's like investment firm,
billionaire, investment firm.
So gone are kind of that idea or any traces of like social media being
Confused about
devised
the
by
AK
a couple
being
of
the
nerdy
People
blokes in
Liberation
their
Gun, okay.
university
Or
dorm or their
mobile.
grandmother's basement.
There's almost no link to this idea of like connection with other people in your circle in the way that Instagram or Facebook or even things like Snapchat started. Like, I'm just a tech guy at Stanford University that wants to create this thing that's gotten. No, this is like.
So now it's billionaires and tech companies kind of split across the US and China, controlling the algorithm. Everyone things are fine.
Well, yeah, exactly. So on the control of the algorithm, I'm trying to understand exactly who will sort of control what Americans see. It looks like
not the user. That's all we need to know. Certainly not the user. That's
not you. We laugh at that dystopia, but it's deeply unfunny actually.
No, it's terrifying,
this entire story.
really.
Yeah. So I think that the Chinese element of TikTok still owns the algorithm, but it will be retrained, is my understanding.
For the US
audience,
Correct.
which is about 200 million people in the United States use TikTok. So Oracle will oversee the storage of Americans' data, and they will also do content moderation specifically for US.
It's nice to be reminded that other parts of the world exist right now. US is popping off. Hit me too close to home this month. An older friend got shot by the cops in the middle of the night on his property because they decided to do some random house inspection and got spooked when he turned on a light and he woke up. It's hard to think of anything else. Oh, holy shit, man. Yeah. It's... I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to live in the United States right now in a place like that.
Users.
Okay. And if you've been thinking, hold a second, we have been hearing about TikTok
I'm
sales
sorry
for
to
so
hear
many
about
years.
that.
Can I just explain why? It's pretty much 6 years in the making. So there was bipartisan support in the US. In 2020, Trump vowed to ban the app. And then in 2024, Joe Biden signed a law requiring a US version of the app. So we're not going to ban it. We want a US version of it. And now that deal has gone through under the second Trump administration.
Yes.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah. So there's two main reasons that it's bipartisan, which is the first, obviously, that TikTok is a Chinese company. Like I said, around 200 million users in the United States. You're uploading quite a bit of personal data there and, telling everybody about your life and however it is that you use the app. And so, of course, they were worried about what the Chinese would do with American data and whether they would use that for nefarious purposes.
This is important, I think. Actually, I don't know what it is. Like, they talked about the... there's a documentary called Zeitgeist, and also Zeitgeist 2, which discusses the idea of everything being kind of a lie. So, in the past, you'll have, like, US interest, Israeli interest, basically inventing, like, kind of developing and coming up with sort of basically... honeypot is not the right way to put it, actually, technically, but it's kind of like a honeypot, which are apps that they'll put out there saying, hey, it's safe, encrypted end-to-end, and people join it, and then they get their info. So, essentially, what the point of this thesis is that you don't know what's real. Because you do know that there are many operations out there that are fake, and some that are co-opted, and some that might be genuine. The point is to confuse the ordinary person, like the ordinary activist. So I'm conscious of the fact that phenomenon might be affecting me right now, but there has been an application called Upscrolled, which is kind of like a Twitter, Instagram, TikTok-y type thing. Like, it's a mishmash of all of them. So when you go to your home feed, it's a lot more like Twitter, but it has a video feed, like a multimedia feed as well. It's developed by a Palestinian, Australian, Jordanian guy. And a lot of people, it promises, like, it doesn't have any ads, though that's not really what bothers me. But it's supposedly not influenced by Zionist adjacent interests, which a lot of people are migrating to, and I'm on Upscrolled. So if anybody's interested, I still wouldn't trust it quite yet because I don't know anything about the guy who developed it. But a lot of people seem to trust it. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. I'm just going to post the link. This is maybe the new thing. Upscrolled is what we've been waiting for, apparently. But I still wouldn't recommend sharing too much personal information with it. But I'm on there.
Purposes. But the good news is that now only American billionaires can use American people's data for nefarious purposes if they intend on doing so.
I love that. And the people's president, Donald Trump, helped make that happen.
Oh, and look, I had a whole thing in here about quoting what he said on Truth Social, but I don't care because it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It just doesn't. Nothing he says means anything. Yep. He might change his mind tomorrow. So what's the point of saying what he said? Yeah. There's none. Anyway, he was happy about it. But the second reason that TikTok is, I think the sale of it is also bipartisan in terms of support.
5 bullet wounds, but the tough old fucker's still alive. They held off the EMT for 2 hours, hoping he'd sit. Give them having witnesses. Very grateful. Oh, holy shit. Hell yeah, dude. That's a tough fucker. Of the zeitgeist, yeah, high school favorite. If you're in ads, I'll pause it. Let me know. Okay.
Is because there was this concern right across, I don't know if you'd say across the American political spectrum, but certainly with the two major parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, that it was propagating anti-Israel sentiment.
Yeah, and it's really hard for them to bankroll a genocide and then have people see it. It's really hard.
Sure, there is that. Yeah. There is like, why would you want people to see
exactly what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly.
It makes things awkward.
Yeah. So to give you kind of like an indication of where the thinking was on this, again, across the two major parties, Hillary Clinton at the end of last year attended an event for Israel Hayom, which is an Israeli newspaper, incidentally published by a woman called Miriam Adelson, who happened to be one of, if not the largest donor to Trump, including during his 2016
coincidences
presidential campaign. So that's water under the bridge, seemingly, for Hillary at this point. Doesn't matter. You gave lots of money to the guy that ran against me in 2016 and won. I will be here at this event, and
she probably gave her a lot of money too.
She probably gave her a lot of money too.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
Yeah, you're right. But here is Hillary Clinton at the event lamenting TikTok seeping into the brains of American young people.
Because when you would try to talk to them to engage in some kind of reasonable discussion, it was very difficult because they did not know history. They had very little context. And what they were being told on social media was not just one-sided, it was pure propaganda. And so when you think about how to tell Israel's story, and it's important, it's not just looking internally, it's looking externally, and particularly looking at young people, because, you know, it's not just the usual suspects. It is a lot of young Jewish Americans who don't know the history and don't understand.
Do these people hear themselves?
Oh my God.
Does she hear her? Does she ever like
no, she sounds,
watch that back?
No, she sounds like she really believes what she's saying. Like, it's pure propaganda and it's one-sided.
But maybe you're selling pure propaganda because you're also selling weapons.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, you have more of a buy-in to sell pure propaganda to your own people than
Jewish Americans, young Jewish Americans who are like, hey, this doesn't feel right.
I fucking despise her, dude.
Don't understand the history, including Jewish people.
Yeah, it's
we need to tell Jewish people what to think.
Yeah, but she says it really like, she sounds really calm and concerned.
Just very matter of fact, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, she's talking there specifically about TikTok. So there is that concern. And now that it's sold to Larry Ellison, who is the single biggest donor to the IDF, I believe.
Yeah, but one of, definitely.
Or one of.
I mean, nothing's going to change. This is all fine, guys. I mean,
Nothing.
We just had to worry about the Chinese. Now it's in the American hands. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
So in terms of what may or may not change, I want you to listen to TikTok's head of operations, trust and safety. This is a guy called Adam Presser.
So if somebody were to use Zionist, of course you can use it in the sense of you're a proud Zionist, but if you're using it in the context of degrading somebody, calling somebody a Zionist as a dirty name, then that gets designated as hate speech to be moderated against.
You introed Alex Presser as the head of operations.
So, what are you supposed to call somebody who's a Zionist? So, if you're referring to, let's say, the Zionist, Okay, so say you're talking about the Zionist Federation of Australia, except not in glowing terms. If you say, oh, the Zionist Federation of Australia, there's Zionist supporters, who they themselves refer to themselves as Zionist, is that going to be censored now? Like, isn't this a bit of social engineering? Essentially, you're suppressing all speech which casts the word Zionist, when you use it in a context that is negative. You're suppressing that and only allowing the term Zionist in a positive context to be broadcast. So this is essentially social engineering. It doesn't matter what the context is. Sorry, that's not right. It matters only what the context is, actually. So only if it's in a positive context can you use the word Zionist, because they themselves refer to themselves as Zionist. So, but if you say Zionists suck, that's not allowed. It's really just the most bizarre thing. Like, I mean, I don't think that would even occur. Like, if you were to replace Zionist with leftist, let's say that the world, in an alternate universe, it's a leftist world. And there were people who say, I'm a leftist. So you're going to suppress people who say leftists suck, but only allow people who refer to themselves as leftist in a positive context, saying that, okay, all leftists get it together, we're going to do this, that's okay. But when you say leftists are trying to kill us, that's what you'll suppress? That's, I don't think that would occur to most normal people. It's just the strangest thing. It's really like Clockwork Orange level shit.
For TikTok, and he was when he said that in May 2025.
Yeah, he's not the head of operations trust.
Of course it is, that's the point. Yeah.
And the reason this has been doing the rounds again on social media is because the TikTok sale
They
has
go
now
hurt
gone
their
through.
feelings.
So
Oh, what's up, Jay
people are worried
Darico?
about how this is going to affect people's ability to criticize what Israel.
By the way, I'm going to pause here so I can shout out some people because I haven't. Hate your name. Mostly because I can't really type it. I'm inebriated. Shout out Jay Darico. Oh, what the fuck? I didn't even type. Look, operating keyboards is hard. Does anybody else here stream? Let me know. Wait, what? Why did that shout me out? Okay, look, there is no rational explanation for that. Like, I have an extra R? Oh my god. Oh my god. That's embarrassing as fuck. Okay, never mind. If anybody else streams, say so I could do some shouts.
is doing. And so when you have the now CEO having said that, well, if you use Zionism as a pejorative, we don't know what that means. That could be you're a terrible Zionist, or we don't know. But he said that you're allowed to say I'm a bad Zionist. You're not allowed to say anything bad about Zionism. And so that's already TikTok taking...
Listen, when we're sitting on top of the T90s, we're not at all going to destroy some innocent blocks.
A clear side, despite all of the evidence and amongst human rights organizations, including in Israel, that Israel is committing a genocide. So, it's a couple of very large alarm bells.
I guess the question
We have targeted some capitalists. We think it's at 0200.
is, what are the
1200, yes.
Yeah, would be a reasonable question. And it's not immediately clear, but I did see an article in The Guardian, this was towards the end of last year, that I think summed up the just existential crisis that we have as a country writ large, which said that basically Australia might have to choose between Chinese or American TikTok. And you know how it is when we have to choose between China and America, when we're in Asia, but we, values, in inverted commas, aligned with the US.
Aligned.
Oh dear.
What I would love is a situation, Jan, where we could, we always tell people to read widely, have various sources where you're on like American TikTok and I'm on Chinese TikTok. I want access to both. I want access to both. I'm just putting it out there.
Maybe it is a choice. Maybe we give
By the way, Kiko, could you post the... I haven't donated in a while, which I'm feeling a little bit guilty about, to friends in Gaza. Feel free to post those buffed links.
give Australians a choice. I don't know how that would work, but there's a lot of people, well, when I say a lot of people, I just mean one person who I saw, who I really love, who's Meg Stalter, who's an actress. I don't know if you've seen Hacks. She's so funny.
I don't know
She's
her.
so funny.
By the way, if anybody wants to...
said, okay, I'm going to take all of my videos off TikTok.
Feels like hopping on voice, feel free.
Just get off the app completely because they're censoring the stuff that I can say about ICE. So
okay, that's another.
There's like a trickle down effect. It would seem
it's not
of
just
censorship of things that the billionaire Trump aligned owners of TikTok may not want you to talk about. It might start with Israel, but I don't think it's going to end there by the sights and sounds of it. But a question for us around TikTok is, do we stay on it? You seem to be yes, and I seem to be I'd love to get off, which is not a no.
Okay, it's a watch this space. Okay, well, let's continue the fun and games, shall we? We'll bring it to Australia now because you're probably aware that the government rushed through these new hate laws. The ABC's described it as the toughest federal hate speech laws in Australia's history, and the Albanese government recalled Parliament early to get these through. And Labor's been very open, Jan, about the fact that these laws are designed specifically with anti-Semitism in mind in the wake of the Bondi attack. And... Quick note, stakeholders were given 2 days to review this 144-page bill. Not only to review it, but to write their submissions in reply.
Okay, so if I'm recalling correctly, you said the ABC called it the toughest.
So if anybody's wondering why Palestinians might be having babies in a time like this, I encourage you to read a book called Emergency Sex, which... was an account of UN workers in a war zone talking about how when they thought they were facing imminent death, they basically fucked a lot. It's a perfectly normal human reaction, apparently. I wouldn't know. For emergency, I would be I'd be doing things that are probably not not opportune to say on this medium. I would certainly be looking for a bit of I won't go into that. It's an entertaining book. Yeah, this was in Cambodia. This is why people fuck. Apparently. in life or death situations.
Federal hate speech laws in Australia's history.
Correct.
Given 2 days.
2 days to review the 144-page bill.
And also write whatever submission you would like to put in about them. Okay,
That's
normal
cool, guys.
and fine.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah. So let's first spend some time on what these new laws actually are, because the whole point, a lot of it is the fact that it's not clear. And the only thing that is clear is that they were rushed, they're confusing, and that they've united the left and the right in opposition.
Yes, because Labor supported them, the Liberal Party broadly supported them, the Coalition
split over them,
did not. One Nation did not support them, the Greens did not support them, certain independent senators such as David Pocock also did not support them.
Okay, so a couple of things that the government's been quite open about is wanting to list or ban more hate groups. And they've specifically named the neo-Nazi National Socialist Network and the Islamist organisation Hizb ut-Tahrir. Off the bat, these...
My first instinct is to balk and say... My first instinct is to balk and say that in my darkest days, with my most dire hardship, that wasn't my focus at all. But then I think back to my mindset and actions at the time, yeah. I mean, humans are essentially... We're disgusting animals. And, you know, I'm not gonna go over my thoughts on this matter. But, we're just gross, bacteria-ridden, disgusting creatures where we find the soulmate of our lives, and after getting to know them and having nice deep moments where we, you know, our souls really meet, for some reason you want to rub each other's genitals together, which is something that I'll never understand. But I'm not really the greatest sample for this. I think normal people, it's better to discuss this amongst normative human beings who understand what it's like to be human. But on the whole, like, I've read enough about it to sort of get the gist. Sure, that's how we. There has to be an imperative. There has to be a procreation imperative somehow, which means you're going to, you know, there's got to be a little bit of. I'm just gonna leave it there. Bumping uglies, yeah. Please help our friends Iman. Oh, what's up, Inelda? Hello, nice to see you. Please help our friends Iman and Risha and their families in Gaza. They are currently facing the rain and continues bobbing. Iman's link, yes. I can't pin from Shadowreno. Shadowreno. Okay, thank you. Somebody's already pinned it. Well done. Well, we are what Dub is saying, is that we are beautiful. Sure. I mean, when you look at it, on the whole, it's beautiful. But I can't say that, Alright. I'm here to translate, lol, ha ha ha, I pinned it already. Thank you. Yes, anyway.
These two are going to be listed as hate groups. But the other thing is, Jan, that the government can list and delist or designate other hate groups kind of willy-nilly, like as it pleases, and all it has to do
you see this
is
flag,
to notify
you
the
see
opposition
this
that it's
thing?
doing it.
Yeah, the opposition
It's
doesn't have a say.
underrepresented
Yes, just like, this is what we're doing, just to
in
let
the
you know,
community.
courtesy.
Yeah, it'll consult ASIO, and then it'll just go tell the opposition this is what we're going to do. And we don't really know who or how will fall into this hate group category.
Well, there's no criminal conviction required for the listing. That's number one. It can be retrospective.
Yeah.
Is the other element of it.
We're being oppressed.
And it is linked to how, I guess, people feel
You feel that?
subjectively
Yeah,
about
Jock knows what I'm
hate.
talking about.
Yes, and if they fear for their safety, or they fear or anticipate violence,
Which I do have some empathy for, I want to say, because I feel like impact is often cast to the side when we're talking
Until
about
it's too
speech.
late.
It's often about the intention of the person speaking, but I think impact should be, brought into the conversation.
Another very loud alarm bell is the minister's not required to observe procedural fairness. He just gets to kind of act. also making it easier for the government to cancel visas, deport people if they're linked to listed groups. But again, we don't know.
The linked element is nebulous.
Again, linked how so? What groups? So in some parts, the law relies on state and territory offences, like it tied to state and territory legislation. But state and territories all have different legislation.
Yeah.
So it can be inconsistently applied. And if a group is an umbrella group, a national organisation, but a person lives in New South Wales and someone lives in NT, it can just be applied very differently, which is adding to the confusion.
So, like, I mean, if you are confused, don't feel bad because
I'm good now that you were here, making me laugh straight away. For someone that does not like the rubbing of things, you sure talk about it? Yeah, because it's funny.
We are too.
We are too. And also the people who...
It's very funny to me.
Appear to be very confused.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well. And we saw this sort of first out the gate. I don't know if she was the first person to give an interview about it.
Certainly one of the first.
She was, but one of the first. Straight out the gate, once this law passed, the Attorney General, Michelle Rowland, was on the ABC speaking to David Spears. And I don't know what she said.
Yes, but
she said a long thing.
But I do want to...
Listen, I'm going to... When I see... I'm a big, I like the human form purely from an aesthetic perspective, right? The female form, the male form. It's all wonderful. Except for the bit the groin area. That's gross. For both genders, actually. I don't want to see the little... I don't want to see either the internal or the external, incarnation of the split, I don't want to see the split with the hairy. I don't want to see the thing coming out also hairy. I don't. It's just, it's something that should be hidden. You know what I like? If I see I'm trying to think of I like it when men and women, when there's, when you're nicely clothed, when you're, very modestly dressed, and you have, little, probably I like high collars, and you have things covering the knee, and you're like, hey, yeah. And you could sit around and have, high tea. You could just sip some tea, have some cake, discuss matters of import. Other than I don't want to see those people removing that. I don't want to see how you piss, or the other thing, which will remain on there. I don't want to know about that's private and hidden, and not to be discussed.
I saw this on social media, and I want to give a nod to the ABC
gang, rise
on
up.
social media because
Jug knows
Attorney
me.
General Michelle Rowland attempts to explain how the new hate speech laws will work to David Spears, and I'm like, she really did attempt. She put the she really did attempt.
Okay. So she's not explaining; she's trying to explain. And may we insinuate failing just from that caption alone? Thank you, ABC. Let's listen to.
Look, I recognize the need to procreate. There should be a curtain. Everybody, there should be a curtain. This is my fantasy. You have a curtain with a little space there. Each person is fully clothed, and you say to yourself, well, dear, it is time for us to manufacture a baby. And then you very serenely, you get past the joy part, you get past the injection of serotonin in the most dignified way possible. You think, yes, that's very good. And then you have a baby, and it's you know when you're a child, the Looney Tunes cartoons, and they would be delivered to you by a stork. I honestly, unironically wish that was the way it was done. There should just be a baby delivered to you because you love your partner. And it just magic happens, and then a baby arrives via a very large bird.
What Michelle Rowland had to say, shall we?
If a group is suggesting that Israel is guilty of genocide, what other measures or factors would need to be met before they can be banned?
Well,
Mormonism.
the provisions that are now before the Parliament, there would also need to be able to demonstrate that there are, for example, some aspects of state laws that deal with racial...
Like, you know in Alien, because there's a lot of psychosexual imagery in Alien. Like, because the xenomorphs themselves are kind of, if you are to look at them, and those just deliver it, they are kind of kind of gender ambiguous. They have like male and female aspects at once, and so the way they reproduce is basically having a face hugger clamp onto your head and shove its space stick. That's what it is. It shoves its space stick down your throat into your thing, and then it drops an egg in there, and it bursts out of your belly. To me, like, human pregnancy and that, there's no difference. There's essentially no difference. And I think the facts will bear me out here, because female birth is pretty traumatic. Like, it's life-threatening, essentially. And if not life-threatening, it is at least extremely damaging to the reproductive system. Like, it will rip and tear when that little piece of shit comes out. And it leads to, in many cases, it leads to, I forgot what the word is here, but like the loosening of the parts down there leads to possibly your organs like dripping out of your genitals, which is just like a trauma that I can't imagine. It's just, the whole thing is, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. This is the thing that's perpetuating our species? That's insane.
Vilifications that have been met as well. So the point I would make here, David, is that whilst these provisions have changed in response to the negotiations that have been undertaken with the opposition, they still represent a tight set
Ridley
of
Scott
laws
is obsessed
that
with
can be
sex and
implemented
reproduction,
and
yes.
are capable of interpretation, not only by a court, but also by our agencies.
Okay, but just to be clear, if
Literally steamroll for men, yeah.
is engaged in genocide, or they're saying Israel should no longer exist, that is not enough for that
Might
group
as well
to
be a
banned.
parasitic belly busting thing in there,
Well,
yeah.
again, that would depend on the other evidence that is gathered, David. So I would be reluctant to be naming and ruling in and ruling out specific kinds of conduct that you are describing here.
But surely we all need to know what will be against the law.
As somebody who has had a couple of times a catheter inserted into their dick, like sounding, just shoved in there. Like, literally, there's no other way to do it. When they put a catheter in there, they're like, oh, we got some resistance. Put in some more gel, but, we really have no other choice but to just... Damn it, it's not going in! Okay, we need to call the specialist. Like, that is not as bad as the idea of childbirth.
This matters in terms of what your law will mean. So what would it take for a group that's doing that to be banned?
No, it certainly does. And your viewers have every right to know what the scope of this is, and we have been clear from the outset about the kinds of groups that we are seeking to bring within this regime. This will include those groups that have so far managed to not do anything that is against the law or would otherwise attract criminal conduct provisions.
Stop. Like all of you. This includes all the groups who've not done anything against the law. All of you.
Okay, Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate, as per the ABC, the toughest federal hate speech laws in Australia's history. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the answer straight out the gate. Very good. Very good. But there was more.
Yes.
But wait.
Yeah, so obviously Carl Stefanovic on the Today Show picked up on that vagueness or inability, that word salad inability.
Do you know that many after-birthing surgeries, Hawk Tour, my partner, laments for not being born as a species with a cloaca instead of a jumbled mess? Oh my god. Yeah. Sometimes ribs open so much that it makes a one-hole vaginus. Yeah, pouch. I'm so sorry. I've heard of that. I fucked up name. I due for a rename. Also, a catheter does not have to hurt if done correctly. Or nostalgic piercing or something goes canonically has a cloaca. Yeah, a catheter shouldn't hurt, but my urethra was reconstructed because I didn't have one going up the penis. Originally, I had one going through my. I'm medically intersex, so my original pee hole when I was a very small child was through a little vestigial vagina, so they had to redirect that. So it was reconstructed through the dick because my mother wanted to be me to be a male. So it's got a lot of scarring. So naturally, there's like a lot of resistance to putting a catheter through it.
Ability to actually explicitly answer what would it mean if you criticize Israel, and pushed Foreign Minister Penny Wong, who also
I'm
gave
a
the
freak.
word salad, but a bit of a different word salad.
Yeah, that one was a caprice. This one's an issoir.
And I choked on both. That's the reality. I choked on both.
Says Israel engaged in genocide. Will they be prosecuted now?
Can I start with what the legislation does?
No, just ask
a
the
number
question.
of things. Obviously, one of the things it does is it enables a minister to cancel and suspend visas of
Not
people
talking about
who
visas,
come
no.
to Australia to preach hatred. We have
What
the gun
hatred?
legislation.
We have gun
which is,
legislation. Oh, okay.
toughening up the gun
Sorry,
laws in the
was this
ways
about
that
gun
I've described.
legislation?
In relation to the hate groups, what this legislation does is enables
This
the
is made for us
minister
by doctors
to
or
determine
parents. What was
and
supposed to
prescribe
be.
that a group is a
What was
hate
supposed to
group
be enrages me
in
forever.
accordance with the legislation. But
Yeah.
that's not a political decision.
It's true. But, I mean, I got to excuse my parents a little bit and the doctors at the time because this was in the 80s. I'm quite old. I'm older than I look, in case you didn't know. They had to make the decision in the early 80s. And there was not as much of the discourse then as happens now. So they didn't know what to do. So the natural course of action was to ask the parents. And my father was like, I'm having no part of this. Leave the decision to my wife here, since this thing is coming out of her. So just ask her. And she was like, well, male. And they were like, well, okay.
It is a
That's a
political
decision that is done on the advice of security agencies.
Doesn't mean it's not a political
And
decision.
the leader of the opposition is briefed. So I
Briefed,
just
he's
want to
told.
say to your viewers and to you, what we are trying to do is to crack down on groups who seek to
We'll
incite
do our
hatred
best.
for the purposes of engaging in incitement and criminal activity.
Okay.
We're not seeking to crack down
I'm just
on
going to
people's
pause it there. Involved in criminal activity. No crime has to have been committed as well.
Exactly. Go on.
on people's you know,
This is Penny Wong, a foreign minister, and she's our deputy prime minister. An extremely smart woman, but sadly extremely consumed by Labour Party politics. So tragic, really.
Come on,
difference
Carl.
of political debate.
Jump in, Carl.
So that was under the legislation, people will still be able, all groups will still be able to say that.
Well, I'm not going to get into. It's not hypotheticals about
But it's
what
not
can and
hypothetical.
can't be said. I'm making a point about the way the legislation works.
Do you think people should be able to say that?
I don't believe that. Well, the government's position is that the state of Israel
That was a good question.
has a right to exist.
That wasn't what was
Okay.
asked.
That wasn't what was asked. Yeah. Do you believe Israel is committing genocide in Gaza?
So after I listened to them in that order as well, I came across them. And with Michelle Rowland, at first I was like a deer in headlights, seems too frightened or confused to answer clearly.
And then maybe like,
But I was-
someone will rescue this.
Yeah, and I was less reassured after
You're a wonderful human
hearing
being.
from the foreign minister.
But also the idea is like, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. It's like, okay, well, the UN
Sick of this
Commission of
racist
Inquiry
least
has
person
found that
I've met.
Israel is committing a genocide. That's not a hypothetical.
That
That at this point is a conclusion that has come based on quite a bit of evidence. So if I were to quote from a UN report, would I be?
Oh, yeah, Nelda's
targeted
older
under
than me.
these new
Thank
hate
God.
speech? If anyone was to quote from a UN report, I mean,
People still don't know. And so then I expected and hoped for editorials or the newspapers to pick up in the days afterwards to kind of go, well, that was weird. They were two kind of train wreck interviews. And I had a look,
I didn't
we've
want to
often
know
talked
about. I didn't want to
their
know
favourite,
that about
the
you
SMH
and
and the
Alba.
Age's views.
The Herald's view.
Sorry, the Herald's view. You know, when they take a position, the Herald's view.
And how many times does the Herald take a position?
Almost every day.
Multiple
every day, second day. And often you're like, that's not a position, that's a statement.
Yes. What was the Herald's view?
Well, the Herald didn't have a view on the day it came out. The view the day it came out was we need to learn how to live better with sharks.
Well, yes.
And that is, to be fair, is because there have been a lot of shark attacks. And then the day after was a piece about standing with the Jewish community. And I think this is perhaps where some of what should have been robust analysis was paused and then potentially forgotten because it was never picked up, because then it was the National Day of Mourning that was declared. So on the January 21st, the hate speech laws in the evening are passed.
In the evening.
And the January 22nd is the National Day of Mourning.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe you want to park some of that analysis.
I can understand if they did that. Yeah.
But in the days since, there has been no
Keko's a
view
real
on it,
slut.
and the editorial, the Guardian doesn't have a view. I went and had a look. The only kind of view I did find was the AFR had a view, and that was that the Bondi terror response is not the political class's finest hour, and it was the subheading was, or the first paragraph is about failing to meet the gravity of the situation. Only right down the bottom of the article, in the second last paragraph, do we hear, in hindsight, a rushed 2-day emergency sitting was the wrong way to begin the process of working through the range of issues that needed to be confronted. That's the first time
Yes,
I think it made it
herpes.
to the second last paragraph.
Okay.
But Crikey did have 2 editorials. So they, Bernard Keane came out saying Nationals were right to oppose Labor's terrible laws, but Lay has to sack them anyway. And probably the best kind of analysis that I saw, rush laws that endure forever. Australia has been expanding police state powers for 25 years and then looked at the whole raft of legislations, anti-terror laws, the dozens that were passed under Howard, laws passed under Abbott, and now under Albanese, arguing that and making the point and showing the evidence that once these powers are granted, they are very rarely relinquished, which is obviously a problem
I'm so
with
sorry.
all of our civil liberties.
You would think the Guardian would have a strong view.
They didn't have a view, and I mean, there's a section where the Guardian has a view as an entity. Then they have an opinion page. The Guardian published an opinion piece by President of the New South Wales Council for Civil Liberties, raising all of the alarm bells about the vagueness, the ministerial discretion, the lack of procedural fairness, all of those things. And I said, surely their columnists have something to say. So I went and I had a look at the columnists, and there's a montage of 6 articles from the columnists, and 3 of them appear twice. So
Never
the
been
columnists have 2 pieces each.
Okay, you're right.
There is nothing from
2
the
hours.
Guardian. The Guardian can't muster anything to say about these hate laws, but they have 2 of the 6 articles about dogs. And no shade, because I love dogs. I love my dog. I am a dog lover, Jan. I try and bring my dog into the studio, and you're like, get it out, we need to record. And so at this really...
Do you remember when, like, I don't know how online a lot of you are, but on Twitter there was a bit of hasbara going on where they were trying to push this narrative that Palestinians hate dogs because Muslims hate dogs because dogs are haram, none of which is true at all. Like, dogs are not haram, for one thing, and Muslims don't hate dogs. Several of my family members in Egypt have dogs. I will admit that it is kind of it's a bit of a miscommunication depending on how new the community is to Islam. So Malays have kind of a not really correct aversion to dogs. Like, it's not like they want to kill them or anything like that, or that they hate them, but they kind of don't want to touch them, which is not true. Like, in the hierarchy of Islam, technically, a dog is nothing like a pig, for example. So you can touch dogs. Just the most fundamentalist view of it, and I don't use the term fundamentalist to denote like murderous kind of terrorism. I mean, the most conservative view of it, according to Islam, is that when you touch a dog, you should wash your hands. And it's not the kind of cleansing that you should do after touching a pig, for example, where you have to do this like 7 times in sand type of shit, then wash your hands. With a dog, you should just clean your hands in water, and that'll be it. And you can have dogs. Like, you can't... It's not like you can't own dogs. You can have dogs. But the idea that Muslims hate dogs is just not true. And they're trying to push that particular point of Hasbara because there were lots of stray dogs and they tried to do this whole narrative that Israeli soldiers were rescuing dogs because the Palestinians hate them, as, you know, kind of misguided attempt to touch the heartstrings of Westerners. And it didn't work. Suffice it to say, many of my family members in Egypt have dogs, and nobody gives a shit. I really hate, like, I was... There's always this is an example of the way that they try to find any kind of in to demonize men and people. And a lot of it's very pathetic, but also enraging. Anyway, the rest of this is boring. It's a lot of inside baseball for Australia. I'm just gonna go straight to Bad Empanada. Because he's hilarious.
Citizens, were you thinking of saying something mean about Israel? Were you thinking of saying that it's bad to kill children? Were you thinking of saying that stealing other people's land
Hot
is
sauce,
wrong?
what up?
Citizen, what you've just done carries a sentence of at least 6 years in prison.
Sure not to have them in the
Australia,
house.
because they have recently...
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus. Like, a lot of people don't want to have them in the house. My family in Egypt doesn't mind them in the house, as long as they're not too large. I think it's got nothing to do with anything aside from the fact they're just too big. I had a family, my cousin's house outside Cairo has these massive Irish wolfhounds. And they take them out during the night to patrol the compound. And obviously, they're not allowed inside the house, but they also have smaller dogs as household pets, which are allowed inside the house.
Passed new hate crime legislation specifically directed at criminalizing basically anything that makes a Zionist Jew uncomfortable. So they introduced a new bill, which was called the Combating Anti-Semitism, Hate and Extremism Bill. Notice the specific anti-Semitism, right? Like, it could just be combating hate and extremism, but no. Anti-Semitism is talked about as something separate, something special, something that needs to be specifically acknowledged, because Jews are in the narrative of
Hot
Western
sauce.
imperialism,
Nice
by
to
the
see you. What up?
necessity of Western imperialism to uphold the state of Israel, a special class of person.
Yeah, I wash my hands after... Like, I'll play hug with cats, etc., but I still will wash my hands because it's a bit gross not to. Like,
Above all others.
I'll do that after shaking hands with another human being because most people are disgusting.
Who need special laws and protections that are not afforded to other people. This thus justifies speech that obviously would never be considered wrong in a similar analogous context being considered literally criminal in the context of like it being against Israel, because Israel is Jewish. Jews are so special that they warrant special mention, even in a supposed general law against like hate and extremism. So you better not say anything mean about Israel, citizen.
Yeah, I can't do it when it's window in window.
This bill was so rapidly written and passed. It took like a week or two. Like, it passed both the House and the Senate on the same day, the 20th of January, rapidly pushed through. So there was a request from one senator to make amendments to this bill that would exclude from it criticism of the
Yeah, let me go back here.
and extremism. So you better not say anything mean about Israel, citizen. And this bill
Anything embarrassing
was
here?
so rapidly written and passed. It took like
Medicare
a
registration.
week or two. Like, it passed both the House and the Senate on the same day, the 20th of January, rapidly pushed through. So there was a request from one senator to make amendments to this bill.
Yeah, for anybody who's come in lately, this is just a book that I recommended about why people have babies in war zones. Because they fuck. They think their lives are about to end. I'll paste the link again. It's not a weird book. I'm going to close it now. My mailbox. Yeah, nothing else. Yeah. My Medicare registration. How to completely disable OneDrive. Yeah, that's okay.
That would exclude from it criticism of the practices, policies, and acts of the State of Israel, the Israeli Defense Forces, or
go any
Zionism.
further than
and
this.
It was rejected by 43 to 12, with the major parties opposing it. So they explicitly rejected there being any sort of exemption that would make it clear that you can't be jailed for years simply for making someone feel uncomfortable because you criticize Israel. Amazing. So one of the key parts of this new law is this redefinition of hate crime into conduct that would cause a reasonable person who is the target or a member of the target group to be intimidated or fear harassment or violence or to fear for their safety. So obviously the reason why this is included in here is so that random Jewish Zionists can claim that criticism of Israel, of Zionism, of mass murder of children for Jewish supremacist colonialism is causing them to be fearful or to be intimidated or to fear for their safety. It also gives the government new powers to designate what it calls hate groups with no oversight whatsoever. It's only under the discretion of the government. So the police minister is going to be able to designate on his sole discretion any group a banned hate group. Or he just has to be satisfied that the organization has engaged in, prepared to engage in, or assisted in the engagement of conduct constituting a hate crime. That is what we just went over, like saying something that causes a Jewish person to feel fear or intimidation, which, as we all know, that even includes like criticizing Benjamin fucking Netanyahu. Like, as we've seen recently, there was a guy in Australia who was arrested for wearing a Fuck Israel t-shirt. A person does not need to have been convicted of a hate crime in order.
By the way, it's germane to note that there's a guy who I speak to actually. Name? Can't really remember. He was a dude in Sydney who had a bomb planted on his car inside his garage for displaying a Palestine. Like, there was a note left there saying, stop displaying the Palestine flag. It's just a white guy, like he's a white Australian guy. Stop displaying the Palestinian flag, blah, 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 blah. There was a bomb on his car. And, I mean, you can guess, nothing was really said about it. It was a, it was an explosive device that could have exploded. It was, I can't really remember anything. When I'm streaming, I just can't remember words. It was a viable explosive device on his car. Nothing was really said about it. Nothing was published about it. Nobody gives a shit. The guy who did it was a fellow named something Weiss. So I'll leave that to your... I'll leave you to ponder that in your own time. Recently, so January 26th is Australia Day here in Australia. And counter to that, a lot of people choose to commemorate it as Invasion Day because 26th of January apparently is when the first British boats landed on the east coast of this country. And they call it Invasion Day or Survival Day, where, as you know, there was a genocide here in Australia where a concerted effort to exterminate over 4 million indigenous people in this country very nearly succeeded, but thankfully did not. But millions of indigenous people were killed. And in the state of Tasmania, which is that little bit on the southeast coast of the Australian landmass, that little dot, that little island, indeed, all indigenous people were exterminated from that state. the last indigenous person died in, I think, the early 20th century, if not the late 19th century. Died in captivity. So, and that's on top the actual violent extermination. That's on top of the attempts to take children away from their families and have them raised in white families. The term was to breed the black out of them. That was an official Australian policy at the time. To breed them out until there was no black left. Was the way they looked at it. And that continued until the 80s. This is what's referred to as the successive stolen generations. That is, indigenous people who've been taken from their families and have no idea who their families were, who their parents were. So their generations have indeed been stolen. So on the 26th of January, we commemorate this as Invasion Day / Survival Day. So in Perth the other day, on Monday, yeah, that's the 26th, somebody here in Perth threw an explosive device into the Invasion Day commemoration here in Perth. It was a viable explosive device, which it was a chemical, I think it was TATP, which is a chemical compound I won't go into. It's commonly used by bomb makers, by homemade explosive makers, and in it were packages containing nails, nuts and bolts, shrapnel, essentially designed to cause maximum injury and death. Completely downplayed by the national media. Do we have a royal commission into it? No. Do we have charges of terrorism? No. Because the targeted group were not a group who supports a major US ally in a strategically vital region in the world.
For the minister to be satisfied that an organization has engaged in kind of conduct mentioned in the previous paragraph. So they don't even need like a conviction, right?
This, let's be honest, yeah, hot sauce this year. It happened this Monday past.
Even under their ridiculous laws, they can just ban an organization wholesale and then criminalize anyone who they claim is still a member of it. This is so blatantly and plainly.
The dude tossed it from the first level. It happened in this area in Forest Chase, and which is a city center, and there's an open area with like a stage, and there are walkways above it. And a dude threw it from the top level down in a sock, which was a Disney sock. You can read into that what you will. It took 10 minutes. Actually, nobody noticed it. An onlooker looked at the device and then brought it to the police. That process alone took about 10 minutes. Apparently, the wick failed. That was the only thing that stopped it from exploding and killing and maiming a bunch of people. You'll never hear about this, though, in the international media. And most people in Australia actually haven't really heard about it because it's been played down. Like, if you read the headlines, it's almost as if it was a prank.
Designed to criminalize being against Israel, obviously. And if you are a member of one of these groups
I'll be right back.
that they have decided are a prohibited group arbitrarily, something that, as I said, the minister can just decide based on his sole discretion. No oversight whatsoever. No need to prove it in court or anything. If you're a member of that group, the penalty is imprisonment for 7 years. I'm not kidding. If you're the leader of one of these groups or a leader of them, you go to jail for 10 years. If you recruit for these arbitrarily declared hate groups, you're in prison for 15 years as well. You literally, you don't even have to commit a crime. There doesn't have to be a single proven crime committed by any of these declared hate groups. You just go to fucking jail, basically, because the minister decided they should be banned. Funding, these sentences are insane. 7 years minimum, they go up to 15 years for basically anything related to one of these supposed groups. So yeah, like people are like, why don't you live in Australia? Why would I want to live in Australia? If I was living in Australia, I'd be in the slam of 15 fucking years. Like every time I go to that shithole of a country, I have to like not post a single thing or I'll get arrested. Like straight up. If you're in Australia and you post on the internet saying like, gee whiz, I sure don't like that Benjamin Netanyahu person. If like some random Jewish Zionist reports you to the cops, you're running the risk of 15 years in the slam, or I'll have you know. Like literally, even legal experts are saying that criticism of Israel or the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu may be offensive if they are said to cause psychological harm and prompt warnings to the government from intelligence agencies. Unfucking believable. We live in a joke of a world. I don't understand. People see the ridiculous bending over backwards that every single Western government is doing to protect Israeli genocide. Like, how would you see this as a remotely reasonable person who isn't, like, knowledgeable about politics or something, or even who thinks about politics? How would you see this sort of thing happening in every single Western country and not be like, oh my God, I'm occupied by the Zionists? It just makes, like, intuitive sense at first look.
Now, what's up?
They just keep doing ludicrous, ridiculous shit that, if anything, is going to make people
tried to put Julia in a psychiatric facility. Oh, shit.
And then I guess they'll use
That
that
sucks,
fact to
dude.
throw them in prison. So I guess that's the plan.
I have a strong feeling that I was put in a psychiatric facility that I would not like it at all because I hate all for a lifetime of hospitals. I don't think I'd be. That about does it for me. I gotta eat dinner. It's nearly 11. There's people in here. Let's see who's online. Raid. Kairos or So Freely or Little Bear? Does anybody have any preferences? Just chatting. Okay, 10 seconds to voice of preference. So? The chest can choose for you. Okay, so okay, everybody, thank you for joining me tonight. It went drastically off the rails there. We talked about Russian firearms for a lot and then saluted for various Soviet anthems. Very fun though. It's nice to see you, Jug. Nice to see you, Nelda. Nice to see you, Keko. Nice to see you, Hot Sauce. Nice to see you, Snail. Emo Snail. Who else was in here? Nice to see you, Jay Darriger. Somebody else in here. To the other person who was in here briefly. It's nice to see you. Take care, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Good night and good luck. Free Palestine. Fuck ICE. And all hail the International Soviet.